What is up, bros and broettes? I'm M8A7 VS and today we're doing another episode of Versus. But first, tomorrow the DLC for Black Ops 3 comes out. There are 4 new maps and a new zombies map, and I am pumped. What I'm going to be doing is, I think tomorrow night, I'm going to be streaming on Twitch some of the DLC. I'm not sure at what time, so if you want to watch that stream, go ahead and follow me on Twitter, link in the description, and I will tweet out when I start streaming. The reason being, I don't know what time I'm going to finish work tomorrow night, but we will be playing some of the new DLC tomorrow night on stream, and then throughout the rest of the week, we're going to be doing live commentaries on every single one of the new maps, and I think that'll be a good time. I think that'll be fun. But let me know what you think in the comment section below. But without further ado, the weapons we are comparing today is the M8A7, one of the best assault rifles in the game, versus the Pharo, one of the best SMGs in the game. And I was avoiding this versus episode like the plague because, believe it or not, it's actually very hard to compare two weapons of different classes, because generally when you use an SMG, you're kind of trying to be up in their face and rushing, and then when you're using an assault rifle, you're kind of staying laid back, stay behind cover, and because there's two different play styles for both weapons, it's very hard to compare. But the more I looked into it, I thought it would be doable to compare these two weapons. So, as always, let's get into it and start off with the damage. So the M8A7, its damage is super simple. At short range, you deal 30 damage, and at long range, you deal 22 damage. That's simple, 30 and 22, whereas the Pharo is a lot more difficult. Up close, 35 damage, at short mid-range, 30 damage, at long mid-range, 23 damage, and at extremely long range, 19 damage. So overall, the damage profile for the Pharo is a little bit better for two reasons and two reasons alone. First of all, up close you can deal 35 damage, which is a little bit better. Also, at long mid-range, you deal 23 damage, where at just long range for the M8A7, you're dealing 22. So because of that, it's just a tad better for the Pharo, and it gets plus 1 point for that. And I know what you're thinking, but Ink Slasher! The range, it changes the damage, and you're kind of right, but that's why we're going to talk about the range next. So the range is, again, super simple for the M8A7. It deals 30 damage up to 38 meters, and then after that, it deals 22. Whereas for the Pharo, between 19 and 38 meters, you're going to be dealing 23 damage, which means after 19 meters, you will always be dealing more damage with the M8A7, because after 19 meters to 38 meters, the M8A7 deals 30 damage. After that, after those 38 meters, the Pharo is dealing 19 damage, where the M8A7 is dealing 22, which means after 19 meters, the range is much better on the M8A7, and for that, the M8 gets plus 1 point. When I said it's hard to compare weapons of two different classes, this is what I was talking about. The numbers just vary so much that it is very hard to compare them. But by looking in super depth, by looking at all the numbers, we can kind of come to a decision about which one is better. And that's why I kind of broke down the damage into damage and range, whereas sometimes I just put the two together. This way, it's kind of more fair. So far we're tied at 1 point a gun, and moving on, we're going to look at rate of fire. So the rate of fire for the M8A7 is 1000, whereas the rate of fire for the Pharo is 909. You're probably thinking, oh, the M8A7's fire rate's better. Not quite. And if we really look at it, the burst delay for the M8A7 is 0.166 seconds, and the burst delay for the Pharo is only 0.1 second. So because of this, it kind of evens out, and the fire rate for both weapons is very similar. And because of that, it's very hard to compare, and I'm not going to give out any points for the rate of fire. Reason being, the M8A7 has a fast rate of fire, slower burst delay. The Pharo, slower rate of fire, better burst delay. So it's kind of hard to compare them, but overall, they're very similar. So the next thing we can look at is the reload speed, and it's kind of the same thing with this again. So the M8A7's reload speed when there is bullets in the magazine is 2 seconds, whereas the Pharo is 2.1 seconds. When the magazine is empty, the M8A7 reloads at 2.7 seconds, whereas the Pharo reloads in 2.4 seconds. So depending whether you have bullets in your magazine or not, the each weapon reloads faster or slower than the other one, so again, making it impossible really to give out points. I know you're probably going to reload more often with bullets still in your magazine, but it's only 0.1 second difference, whereas the empty magazines is a 0.3 seconds difference, so there's no point in handing out points for that either. So again, making it very, very difficult. Now, there's some other stats that just make no sense in comparing. Something like aim down sights time. You need an aim down sights time to be faster with an SMG because you're going to be more up in people's faces. So literally every SMG in the game, except for the VMP, has a faster aim down sights time than the assault rifles. That being said, it needs a faster aim down sights time. So again, no real need in comparing that unless you're running around like a chicken with your head cut off with the M8A7, which I don't suggest doing. So again, no points we can hand out for that. There is one thing that we can hand out points for, and it's magazine size. The magazine size is 40 bullets for the Pharo and 32 for the M8A7. Now, since the fire rate is very similar, it's actually important that one of these weapons has more ammo in the magazine than the other, and it just so happens for that to be the Pharo. So the Pharo gets +1 point there. It's now winning 2-1. So, there is more like I could have gave points to the Pharo for aim down sights time because it does have a better aim down sights time, but that's not really fair because it's not the same way you use both weapons. Again, the movement speed is again going to be faster with the Pharo because that is the class of weapon you're using. Obviously, you're going to be able to move faster with an SMG than you are an assault rifle, but that's not fair to compare those things. So, as you can tell, I'm only comparing the things that are going to be similar with both weapons because it kind of eliminates the factor that you can use these weapons in different ways. So I'm trying to make it as fair as possible, but like I said, when comparing weapons of different classes, that's very, very difficult to do. Now, of course, there is one more thing we can look at, and it is time to kill. Basically, the way to look at this is the Pharo's time to kill is faster up until 38 meters. After 38 meters, the M8A7 has a faster time to kill, but the time to kill is much faster for the Pharo up close than it is for the M8A7 at a range. So because of that, it again gets +1 point. If you're looking for exact numbers, so up close for the Pharo, you kill someone in 0.132 seconds, whereas for the M8A7, you kill them in 0.18 seconds. Whereas at a range, you are killing them with the Pharo in 0.43 seconds, and at a range for the M8A7, after these 38 meters, you're killing them at 0.40 seconds. So up close, it's 0.05 seconds faster for the Pharo, and at long range, it's 0.02 seconds faster for the M8A7. So therefore, overall, the time to kill is better for the Pharo, and it receives +1 point. I know, I'm throwing a lot of numbers at you guys, but another reason that you can look at that the Pharo is better than the M8A7 that I haven't talked about yet is you're actually able to hold down the trigger when using the Pharo, and it fires bursts, whereas for the M8A7, you have to pull the trigger every single time. I know that doesn't seem like a big deal, but your timing isn't perfect. You can't pull that trigger at the exact second to get those bullets out of the gun as fast as possible. You can get close, you can get very, very close, but if you just hold down the trigger with the Pharo, you're going to kill them faster because the game can get that timing exactly on, so you can fire that weapon as fast as possible. Whereas if you have to pull the trigger every single time, your timing won't be as on point as obviously the in-game timing will be. So therefore, there's another reason why it's better too. But overall, the Pharo wins 3-1. It's hard to compare. I know it's hard to compare, guys, and I threw a lot of numbers at you guys, so I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, a like rating would really, really help out the channel, and I hope you enjoyed. Let me know which one of these two weapons do you prefer to use. For me, it actually is the Pharo, even though sometimes I like weapons even though the stats aren't better. I don't know why, just a personal preference. In this case, I side with the numbers. I like the Pharo a little bit more. And check me out on Twitter, link in the description. I'm going to be streaming tomorrow night, so if you would like to check that out, follow me on Twitter, and I will tweet out exactly when I'm playing. I believe my Twitch is also in the description, so check that out and subscribe for new Call of Duty videos every single day. Thanks for watching, guys, and until next time, peace out.